all about romance with today's card. I've got hearts all over it, and we all need romantic cards every once in a while, don't we? So to introduce the dies and the folder we're going to be using, I have the Love Hearts diagonals. The sentiment is going onto the pierced flags. And the floral element on the card is the new Cornflower die. And I'm going with an old favorite to emboss the background. This is the Heart Lattice folder. So I think what we'll do is start with the embossing, and we'll bring over our folder and plates here. I'm using a piece of ruby red card. I'm just going to insert it into the folder. And because you've got kind of a diagonal here, you want to just line it up so it's a little bit even on both sides. That should work. The sandwich is the base plate and the raspberry adapter plate on top. There's no tan mat for this sandwich for the grand caliber. Just going to run it through. There we go. Pop that over. And you have a beautiful emboss on your red card there. Pretty little hearts showing up. Okay, so that's going to be the base to my card. And the next thing I'm going to do is use the diagonals on the white card here, and I'm just going to put this into place with a little bit of tape. Let's start down at the bottom. Now I'm just using the insert piece on this to begin with. I'll tape it on both sides, make sure it's nice and secure, and we'll run it through and give it a cut. And because I'm going to do a little bit in the center with it and extend it, I'll have to hand cut the edges on this. It's a nice straight cut, so it's easy to do. So I'm going to cut one side. But what I want to do is try and leave as much of the die in place as I can. Some of the bigger hearts fall out. I want to move it over and do some embossing. Okay, bring this over. So I've got my tan mat. I'm going to pop this back into place, line it up with the first one that we've done, put my tape back into place, and I want to turn it. There we go. Run it back through. Now, a lot of these have actually fallen out, so probably if I was doing this at home, I would put a piece of copy paper in between that, and you don't get your paper doesn't crack as much that way. But I've already done one ahead of time, so we'll just use it like this. So that's just embossed. Lift this up carefully. Sometimes your mats get sticky, so you have to be very careful with them. Lift that off. We'll reuse our tape. Okay. There we go. Now it's important to take out the extra bits out of your die because we're going to use it to cut again. So I'll go back and just give it a run over with the tool-in-one, and any of these tiny little bits you can just take out by hand. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to line this back up into place one more time and cut a wide border. Let's use a fresh piece. Hold that into place. There we go. Pop that through. So I've got a cut, and then an emboss, and a cut again. So you could actually make a whole entire background with this die if you wanted to. Okay, so knock these out of place. So what you would need to do at this point is just use a paper cutter and cut along the edge, and I've done this with one ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and use this one now. So let me tidy up my workspace a little bit, and we'll just use a little bit of glue to put this onto our embossed background. Some in the center here and a little bit on the edges, just catching that edge. Just make sure you've got enough glue that it's going to secure down all those little swirly bits in your design. This is kind of a quick job here, so when you do it at home, make sure that you hit all the edges and the swirly bits better. There we go. Okay, that should work. Just going to secure this right about, let's see, about like that. You've got a little bit of wiggle time there with the glue. There we go. Make sure it's nice and secure. You can trim that off even with your edge if you want. It's not too far off, so I'm just going to leave it for today. So now we can go ahead and put this onto our card with a little bit more glue. Pop that right in the middle there. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the sentiment, and we'll line up some of these flags. Now this is another thing on these die sets I wanted to show you, is that there's 3 different sizes here, but this center one, I haven't included a back cut edge. And the reason for that is if you want to extend and make a longer flag, you can flip the die over and do that, so it's not a problem at all. Otherwise, if you're using it like we'll be using it here, I'll just nip it away with my scissors. Pop that right over my sentiment, and let's run that back through, and we'll cut that. Okay, there we go. So now pop this out, and like I said, that part there doesn't cut. So if you did want to use that, again, you could line up those holes and extend that all the way back. It's really nice and handy, especially if you're making buckle cards, which are one of the things I really like. Okay, so nip that out. I went ahead and used one of the larger dies there in black, so I'm going to go ahead and use that as a mat. And we'll just trim off the extra bit at the back. Just center it between all those piercing dots there. Put a little bit of mounting foam on the back. And we'll seat that right across our diagonal. So I'll probably put it right about there, and then we'll add our flowers in. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now, I went ahead and made up some of the cornflowers, and these are kind of a little bit more organic looking of a flower, and I really like them because they're kind of, they have that kind of wildflower look to them. So there's all sorts of fun things you can do with them. And I just like to kind of frill them up and move them about so that they all just kind of going different ways. You almost have that look of like a straw flower to them. So I've got 2 here. I'm going to go ahead and show you. And just put a little bit of glue in the center here. And we're going to seat these up. And you can just form them a little bit with your fingers. Pop them in the center. Get them nice and glued into place. And I'm going to put a black Dazzler in there. So I'm going to let that just set up for a second. In fact, maybe even a little bit more glue there. And we'll go back and work on this one. And you can just use your thumbnail to kind of give these a little bit of shaping ahead of time. Like that, and then just offset them so that you have a full-on circle. So let them kind of go where they want. Just kind of play those edges up, and you get that really nice straw flower look to them. Okay, put some glue in the center of this one, and let's just seat these inside of there. And my little black Dazzler, let me get a hold of him. Pop him in the center. I'm going to give that one a second just to glue together really nicely, and we will seat our flowers on some black jute I've tied into a little bow. Put that on with a glue dot. Sometimes ribbon is too much, but the jute is just perfect. Give a little bit of extra something there. Okay, and I've got a couple of these flowers made up in the larger sizes, so I'll go ahead and take that one, Pop that up in the corner, and that'll cover the edge of that tag really nicely. And just a few tiny ones, I think, on this side. And they come in a whole bunch of different sizes, so it gives you a nice variety of flowers that you can make for your cards too, which is nice. Put that one right about like that, so you can still see your sentiment. And on the other side, I'll go ahead and put this larger one up in the corner, kind of balance that. And I've got a couple more here, so I'll do them in clusters of 3. That's always nice. And then add in some of the little leaves that go with it. So I've cut a whole bunch of these little extra little leaves that come with the set. We're just going to use some glue, kind of nip them underneath and around in different spots there. They're really cute. In fact, you can cut them back and just make them a little shorter if you like. There's 2 different sizes that come with the set. Put a couple in here, add a little extra. And I'll put a few up on this side too. It's nice having a little foliage just to add around your flowers. Kind of gives it just a little something extra to your card that's kind of pretty. And I think I'll add one more in over here popping out. Okay. Now the last thing that I've done is I went ahead and cut the diagonal in red, and if you noticed, there's some really pretty little hearts that pop out of that die. So I went ahead and used these 2 red ones, and I coated them with the Cosmic Lacquer and just let them dry overnight. So they make really pretty little accents for your card. So let me put these on with a glue dot. And I'm going to put one up here, just right above the word special, and one behind it. Just kind of offset it a little bit. Hide my glue dot, like that. Really cute little accent for your card. And I'm going to finish this up with a swirl of black rhinestones here. Now, the way to put these on, I think, is to cut them apart sometimes. It just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm going to take that one off, and I'm going to peel this back, trim away some of this so I can get it to sit exactly where I want it to, into place. So that, and then I can flip it backwards and do a little bit of peeling away. And this is the way I find they're easier to use. There is a little bit of a learning curve with any kind of pearls or rhinestones, adding them to your card. So you have to be a little bit slower. Take your time with them. There we go. Let it fall. And if you don't press it down, there's a little bit of wiggle room with them too. So there we go. Let that fall on there. And see if I can peel that larger one off. There we go. Tuck the end under my little flower, and we'll add in the little pieces. I just find it's easier to do it in sections. Like that. And this last little piece here just goes up off the side. There we go. Now you've got a really pretty romantic card you can give to anybody special in your life. Really like that. Hope you've enjoyed today's video, and you'll come back to join us again soon. Thanks so much.